Hey folks, how's it going? This is Iron Seagull here, back with another Sims Info and Thoughts video. So the time has come to fulfill my destiny to give you another update on the next community stuff pack, which is going to be focused around knitting. Recently, we did have the third round of voting, which was all about choosing the Create a Sim items that will be featured. That round of voting has now ended, and SimGuru Sarah has given us an update on the forums and a little bit of insight as to just behind the scenes stuff. So starting off with the first post in her thread, she says, "Hi Simmers, the Create a Sim vote for the community voted stuff pack is now closed. Thank you for participating. We've tabulated the votes and we will share the winners with you soon. I wanted to give you some insight into why it takes so long for us to share the voting results. So here is a breakdown of the process. 1. Poll ends and results are tallied. 2. We write a blog post for communicating the results. This post is then reviewed by the Stuff Pack team members for editing to make sure everything we want to share is covered and to verify accuracy. Then it is shared with our partners in marketing, communications, etc. for review. This process takes a few days because of how many people are involved. 3. Once the blog post is approved, it goes off for translation. The Sims is available in 18 languages, so that process can take a few days, especially when you factor in time differences, weekends, and holidays. And number 4. The translated blogs are handed off to our web team to publish, and then you get to read them. To tide you over, I will share with you the number 1 voted asset. 50% of you voted for adult female shoe number 41. That's some serious love for this one. Thanks for joining us in our collaborative journey to create this stuff pack. I gotta say, I am really surprised 50% of us voted for this boot, though I'm not surprised that it did get a lot of votes. It was one of those items that I saw, I was like, yep, it's cute. A lot of people are gonna vote for it. Though I voted for one female shoe and it didn't end up being this one. Because these boots, I think, look kind of like a rustic version of a pair of boots that we already got with the City Living expansion pack. Though I think in the end it still could look different enough from those boots, because I remember how with Laundry Day stuff, I wasn't all that happy with what won that Create a Sim vote, but then once they were in the final version of the stuff pack, I saw, okay, they actually look pretty good now, and it ended up becoming one of my favorite stuff packs for Create a Sim items. The female shoe that I did vote for is number 37, though I do hope there are some better swatches if this one makes it, but I like the style of it, where you have the shoes, but then you have the leg warmers just wrapped around your legs like that. So I think it could be a bit better than 41, have a bit more originality to it, and just the whole style of this shoe screams knitting more to me than 41 does. But in any case, hopefully the cat slippers make it in, because I really loved using the cat slippers we got with the Sims 3 pets, so I would totally not mind having cat slippers in the Sims 4 as well. But moving on, Simingal asked, it would also be nice to know if there is separate assets for creating with knitting, or if we just create things in this Create a Sim vote and upcoming build buy vote. It would be nice to have a clear answer to this question before the build buy vote at least, because it might influence what people vote for. And SimGuru Sarah says, we will have more details about this in the weeks to come, but the plan is to have some craftable cast clothing items, as well as craftable objects that will be a part of the knitting skill. We will also have regular cast clothing that is not related to knitting, as some of the assets that won the vote that are not made of knitted materials. Case in point, this shoe will just be a regular shoe in Create a Sim. We are still discussing how we want to handle the craftable objects within the object vote. We have heard the feedback that people would like to know what could be craftable versus what is not in that vote, and we're taking that into account in our plans. I was curious about this too, so I'm glad to see Sarah answered that question. So I guess maybe when they do the object vote, which is supposed to be not until March unfortunately, but maybe beside each picture they could have something as a symbol as to whether it can be knitted. So if it can be knitted, it could maybe have a knitting icon or just the letter K or something like that. So then it would be a lot easier to know which items can be knittable, and then the ones that can't wouldn't have anything beside it. There were also some comments about how on the 41 shoe, there is a little bit of a weird thing where the buckles are on the inside of the shoe instead of the outside. And Sarah says, I'd like to give some insight to the feedback on the shoe buckle. The concept phase for assets is pretty loose and creative. The idea is primarily to convey the overall look of the asset and explore some design elements. If you look at the angle the shoes were drawn at, which fits the sim template we used for casts for both of the community voted stuff packs, you'll see that if we put the buckle on the outside of the boot in the concept, you wouldn't be able to see it clearly. By putting it on the inside, you can clearly see what that buckle looks like, which is important for our art team if an asset is selected to move forward into the next phase. When we review concept art, we meet weekly during the concept phase. People will often call out issues like the buckle being on the inside of the boot. In this stage, you'll hear a lot of, if it gets selected, we will revisit this / have to solve for that. This is totally normal for our process. Our artist wanted to give you as many options as possible for the vote. 92! So she focused on creating a wide variety of styles and assets, and we saved the polish for later. Now that this shoe has been selected to be made into a Create a Sim in-game asset, the next step is for a concept artist to create a guide for the asset. It includes the final polished drawing of the asset, including additional angles if needed, and could include details, like what kind of material the socks are made of, a detailed drawing of the stitching, even visuals about the material the buttons are made of, if the artist thinks this information is relevant. This guide goes through multiple rounds of feedback and revision between the artist and the art director before finally being approved. Then, it is handed over to a Create a Sim artist who models the asset in-game. So in short, don't worry, the buckle will be on the correct side of the shoe when you see the final version in-game. I'm really glad Sarah took all that time to write that explanation. One of my favorite parts about these community stuff packs is that the sim gurus are so much more transparent than they usually are during the development process, and I think this is all really good insight. I never would have considered a special case like with these boots where even though the buckles will be on the outside in the final product, they're actually on the inside initially just to really show us how the buckle looks like so that we're not suddenly surprised when we get the buckle in the stuff pack. It's like, wait a minute, what? This boot had buckles? And then the singers are like, yeah, that is it. Whoops, sorry. I wonder if any other items will make it into the stuff pack that will end up changing somewhat substantially compared to what it was in the concept art. So hopefully mid to late next week is when we're going to know the results of the voting process. I'm looking forward to this. I love getting new Create a Sim items, even though I already use so much custom content. And I think I really like the style from what I've seen in the clothing vote, so it should be interesting to see what the objects will be like as well. Depending on what wins for the Create a Sim items, I think they could match up really well with seasons. Technically, we do have the cold weather category in the base game, but then it really comes in handy against the cold temperatures with seasons during the winter. At the time of making this video, there's only 2 rounds of voting left, so there is the one I mentioned earlier in this video, the object style vote in March, where we can vote on the objects to include in the stuff pack, and then in April 2020, there's going to be the pack name and pack icon vote, where we can pick a title that best summarizes the pack's atmosphere and content, and we can also look through different icons and vote on the one that will appear in the pack's box art and the in-game catalog. I'm looking forward to seeing what names they'll come up with. I would not be surprised if knitting stuff is just one of them. I don't think arts and crafts will be one of the names since that was just the general theme that we voted on before, and now it's just narrowed down to knitting, so I don't think it makes a whole lot of sense to go with that title unless they were doing a game pack that was all about arts and crafts. And that wraps up another Sims Info and Thoughts video. So feel free to let me know in the comment section below what you think about those boots, as well as everything else that I talked about in this video. And be sure to subscribe if you want to keep up with my latest content from The Sims, Sonic the Hedgehog, and more. So I will talk to you all later, and have a great day. Thanks for watching.